Welcome back to another video. We are in the Open Great League, and today we're going to be featuring a team with the Lanturn, Medicham, and Serperior here. So Lanturn running the Spark version. Our opponent ends up switching into their Drapion. We're going to stay in for one charge move. Ends up being the Crunch. We don't get debuff, so now we're debating to stay in. We do have a Surf goes through, and we're going to let this go. Ends up surviving by just a sliver of health, so we're going to be able to get to another Surf here to potentially take it out. We do get the Lickitung to come back, so now we're going to come back with the Serperior because we think there's a Flyer in the back, but it ends up being another Poison type. So this is a classic Lickitung double Poison team. Even though we thought it was a Flyer, it ended up being the right decision going into the Lickitung with the Serperior because, as you can see, the Serperior is taking a ton of fast move damage. So we did get a little bit of a head start energy, and now we're going to be able to throw some charge moves to get rid of all their shields. Here, we're going to be letting this Poison Fang go through. We're trying to farm it down. Unfortunately, we don't farm it down. The Lickitung comes back. They have a ton of energy. And by the way, we are running the Dynamic Punch Medicham. So we're about to surprise them. We're going to farm up just a little bit extra. We go for the Dynamic Punch. This will go through. Boom goes the Lickitung. Surprise attack. We're going to go for this Ice Punch. We barely get to the Ice Punch with probably one fast move away. So GG's to our opponent right there. We played it to perfection as well as we could. Making sure that we use the Medicham kind of a surprise factor, running the Dynamic Punch version. So here we have the Dugong versus the Lanturn. This is a positive matchup for us as we're running the Spark version. You can see the fast move Sparks already chunking this thing probably 20%. We tank the Draw Run. We're going to go for this Thunderbolt here because we want shields down. Okay, one shield right there. And now we have a choice. Will we be shielding this or will we be letting it go? We're going to shield it. And our opponent ends up revealing that they have a Sableye. So they have the Sableye with something else. We're going to go for this Frenzy Plan here. Dugong, Sableye. What do we think is in the bag here? They do survive that Frenzy Plan, but we actually want this to go down because we don't want that Dugong to potentially farm our Serperior. So we're going to let it go, and we farm down the Sableye with our Lanturn. Wow, they actually end up having the Carbink. So this Carbink here, oh, they try to catch a move, but unlucky for them, we were ready for it. We are going to let this go. Even if this is a icy win, we should be okay because the shield that we have here will allow us to switch out eventually. So we have no choice here but to go for Dynamic Punch, as it is the neutral move versus Ice Punch is resisted. We're going to shield here. Ends up being the Moonblast, so that was a great shield by us. This time we're going to go for Ice Punch here because we think they'll shield, and we actually think that we only need to get to 2 Ice Punches if they don't decide to shield. So we actually are able to get the shield, and we actually go for the Dynamic Punch for the KO. So GG's to our opponent right there. Well played by us. On to the next game. Obviously, we don't want to see Flyers in the back for this team, and we don't want to see potentially Poison types. But if we can figure out that combination, this team is actually pretty solid. Here we have the Deoxys. Pretty neutral matchup. We're going to go for this Thunderbolt here. This Thunderbolt does go through. They actually end up switching out into their Shadow Dragon here. Interesting. We're going to go into our Medicham. We tank the first move, and we're going to throw this Ice Punch right before they get to their move. This Ice Punch will take it out, or they have to shield. Makes sense. And now we have a decision. Are we going to shield here, or are we going to get the switch? So we decided to shield just to force them to either get the last shield or let it go. They decided to let it go. They want to farm our Medicham. And this is a tricky situation. We have no choice but to go in with our Lanturn here because the Serperior does not want to face that Nidoqueen. We're going to go for this Surf here. This Surf does not KO, but it does 50% or more, a little bit over 50%. We do have to make a decision. We do shield the Earth Power, so that was a great shield by us. We switch out. We were actually trying to catch that Thunderbolt, but unfortunately, the Defense Deoxys got the move in right between our fast moves. And here, we were trying to think about farming down. Maybe it was a little bit too ambitious. Even though this Psycho Boost is resisted here, or sorry, debuffed is what I meant. And we have no choice but to go for the move here. We are already at 100 energy. And unfortunately for us, we are going to lose this. Serperior ends up not surviving and loses all that energy. So well played by my opponent right there. Honestly, could have done things a little bit differently, especially with that Defense Deoxys and Serperior matchup. Should have thrown the Aerial Aces much earlier. All right, here we have to stay in this is exactly where we want to see it, by the way. So Marowak, Fire Spin, we actually had it in the right spot. They decided to switch out, try and catch a move. We're gonna come into our Medicham versus this Greedent. Luckily, this Greedent isn't as tanky in Great League, so we're actually thinking of just farming this full farm down. Depending on what they throw here. Okay, they actually go for the Crunch debuff. Unfortunately, they don't get it, and we do go for the huge farm down. This is perfect because we lead this Medicham with a sliver of health. We know the Marowak is most likely coming back, and we only have time to throw one move. We go for the Dynamic Punch. We come back in with the Lanturn. We don't throw the move. We actually wait for them to throw a move. They go for the Shadow Bone, and then they actually come back in with the Lickitung. So they actually leave because there's two bulky Pokemons versus each other. On to the next game here. Let's see what we can find. We are going to have to battle the next player here. Let's see if we can get a win. We are met with the Marowak here. We're going to stay in because this is our best matchup against this Marowak. We do get switched out into the Greedent. We decided to go into our Medicham because the Medicham has a better matchup against this Greedent. We're looking to just farm down, to be honest. So we're going to tank all these moves. Depending on what they throw, so far they've only been throwing Body Slams. It potentially could no Crunch. Crunch could get the debuff, but they decided to throw the Crunch at the end, which allows us to go for the farm down right there. So that's exactly what we do. We know that they're going to come back in with the Marowak. We're going to only be able to throw one move. So we're going to just spam the Dynamic Punch. This Dynamic Punch is resisted, but we only could get to one move anyways. Here, we're going to have to tank a move. Ends up being the Shadow Bone. They decide to switch out, and it looks like they are going to quit because we have two tanks versus two tanks. So GG's to our opponent right there. On to the next game. Can we end off on a really good note? I guess the team is kind of weak to Flyers in the back. Luckily, we haven't seen any Flyers in the back. So once again, we are going to stay in here because we only have one true counter to this Sand Slash, which is the Medicham. So this is kind of a neutral matchup, even though this drill run is super effective. But we are able to threaten Thunderbolt. This Thunderbolt here is going to get shielded, so at least we're going to have shield advantage going into the back. We try to throw the next Surf here, but they were aware to just throw the move right on CMP. Come back in with the Medicham. Looks like they're going to stay in and do some chip damage. We're okay with it. We're going to let it go. Expecting them to have a counter to this Medicham. And then we're going to switch out into our Serperior, and it looks like Serperior has a decent chance for this backline. No Flyer in the back. Azumarill is super bad against the Serperior, so we have to take out this Medicham as soon as possible, and they know that. So we build up to a Frenzy Plant, then we throw the Aerial Ace. Then we go for these Frenzy Plant. Does huge damage, huge neutral damage. And then here, this is a easy shield because we are going to be able to get to an Aerial Ace. We're going to farm up just a little bit before we throw the Aerial Ace. Since they have no shields, this is going to be able to take them out easy. And now we're going to race to a Frenzy Plant, throw an optimal timing. This Frenzy Plant will not KO, but it will do a huge chunk, probably like 60% right there. And then looks like we're going to get taken out here by this move here. It ends up being the Ice Beam, which is fine. And now we have plenty of health on this Medicham. Even though we don't have Psychic, we are going to be able to throw this Dynamic Punch, and we're going to be able to punch it down. So GG's to our opponent right there. Well played by us. And check out this team if you haven't already, and let us know if you enjoyed the video.